Thank you, Nighthawk, and welcome to Platos Cave on WZZR, coming to you from Australia on Revolution Radio on revolution.radio, the land down under. It's home to fresh, relatively uncensored ideas. Well, if you believe that, you believe anything. Pretty good conversation in the chat room, so if you can get in there, it's always good to go in there. It's fun. That's right. Fun is fun, and you should have funny things that can do with fun. I read a lot of Dr. Seuss to my child recently. The station is not beholden to anyone. That means you, please, give us money. Give us money. Give us all the money. No, if you can donate, great. Please do. If you can't, that's okay too. Maybe you can tell your friends and family about the station. And maybe one of those good folk can donate. So any help is welcome. And look, if you like what you're listening to, and well, so maybe you're here, for the first time, see what you think. And if you think it's okay, then go ahead and donate. Or again, tell your family and friends about it. Today is the 15th of August, 2023. The year when everything went belly up. That's right. The belly up year, you'll remember it. You can catch the cave on the air, on the line, and onto your smart device. So grab an app and listen on that app, anywhere, pretty much, or at home, in the comfort of your nice, warm, cozy home or a great tabletop digital radio. You can also use the archives on the website. Again, Freedom Slips, right? And it's revolution.radio. Freedom Slips, revolution.radio. You can use the Freedom Slips archives. They're free. And I think it's another good reason to support the station. I think. That's my opinion. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave,
I broadcast from Darkinjung country.
Thank you very much. And I'm broadcasting from the country of the Darak people. And we would like to pay our respects to elders, past, present, and future. Yeah, the year when everything went belly up. I don't even like to look at the mainstream news anymore. I do, of course. Of course I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you, it's... Where do you begin? I do want to say something before we get into some of the, more pressing things. Dave and I, we finished the show cycle on telepathy in Chinese Sellout on Sunday. So a new show cycle is going to start. It'll be a very short one. Because
shameless cross-promotion.
Shameless. It's just two of us. It's all good. It's only going to be a couple of shows. Then we're going to go to show 600, which will again go into the major show arc as to what it's all about. But as we were closing it out, with some of the stuff from the CIA reading room. So this is the reading room where they release all the documents. Oh, sorry, that's where they put the documents they decided to release. Mm-hmm. The freedom of information. And there's a lot of things that popped up. There's a scientist who wrote like 50 books, a Mexican scientist, and he has been missing for something like almost 30 years. And then I started to look a bit more at these missing scientists, and there's a lot of them. And then I thought about this, Dave. So we know all about Einstein and Teller and Fermi and Oppenheimer and those guys. We know all about them, right? We know there's nuclear, power, and there's rocket science, and all of that stuff that they did. We even know about quantum mechanics, right? We know about that too. Now you have to ask yourself something here. What don't we know about? And this is really where you have to ask yourself, who or which scientists disappeared or were killed or suicided or whatever the case may be.
Accidented.
And what would accident? Yes, slippery floors, too many open windows. But ask yourself, what were they working on? Right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the most famous of those is Tesla, Nikola Tesla, and his patents. A good chunk of his patents are still not released to the public. And even though he invented a whole bunch of stuff, in fact, look, for all intents and purposes, he invented the 20th and the 21st century. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I know it might sound like hyperbole, but I do believe that he did do that. getting very little credit in the process. In fact, I'll be honest with you, when I went through school, and I love history, and I really enjoyed physics too, I don't remember talking about
Where
Tesla.
was his name anywhere in it?
Yeah, Edison.
Guess what it was? It was all Alexander Graham Bell and Einstein and who was
Marconi
the
and all
other
those
pork
guys.
chop? I forget, right?
All the pork chops. But Tesla,
Nothing.
Nada. Not even a footnote, right? And then the first time I heard about it was when, he gave us alternating currents, because we got AC/DC, you got direct current, and you got alternating current. Now, that might not mean much to you, but alternating current is actually safer to use than direct current. So he gave us that. But that was the first time I heard about it, because I was looking at AC/DC, and why are the two, systems of currents, and anyway.
Well, let's say if you had 10 amps at 240 volts in DC, as you pulled the cord out of the wall, it would continue to arc and still provide power to the device you were trying to disconnect.
Yes. That wouldn't be a good thing. Just as an FYI.
Yeah.
Not so good.
Let's not do that.
Let's not. But that was the first time I came across him. But then you're curious and you a bit more, and then all of a sudden, he's a lot more prominent now, I can tell you, than he was when I was going through school or university, for that matter. And then I thought, okay, well, what are the other things? Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff and a whole bunch of scientists that went missing. In fact, I found so many articles, it's not even funny. There's just one article, though, that I can't get to the bottom of, right? And this is around you might have heard of it, Dr. Edward Mantle. He was allegedly a physicist at CERN before he committed suicide. Now, I don't know if this is true, because I can't find it.
He went back in time. They just said he committed suicide.
Sorry?
He must have gone back in time. That's what I
No, he did. He did actually go back in time. He says he did. And he also burned all of his research.
Yeah.
And his computer had been wiped clean, and then he allegedly committed suicide. But I can't find a source for the story. I can find the story, and it's the same kind of story with the 3 videos and all that, right? But I can't find any original source that says. And then I Google. There's no Dr. Mantle. It doesn't exist. There's no Dr. Edward Mantle. Anywhere to be found. So
that's mental.
If anybody out there, and our listeners, if you heard anything about this, if you've got any source articles or anything about this guy, okay, please let me know. Now, there's a New Scientist article from 11 years ago that claims that some of the physicists at CERN committed suicide over erroneous results, and they were apparently Britt Ain Parnell, Antonio Ereditato, and Carlos F. Rubia. They were found dead at Ereditato's Gran Sasso apartment March 30th. There weren't any autopsies performed, but it seems it was suicide. So I don't know do scientists do that
Not
if my
normally.
experiment right?
We'd have a lot less scientists.
A lot less. Now, again, I can't find a source article for this. Okay? Is this just nonsense? Or are these fragments of a Mandela effect? I don't know. I did find a lot of stuff, though, around the validity of the Mandela effect, which in and of itself is terrifying enough. I myself have experienced it. Now, I can find the scientists, right? I can, but I can't find their suicide anywhere, right? Antonio Ereditato is in Wikipedia. Yeah, he is, but he's not dead, they say. So he is still very much alive. So what do we make of this, Dave? I don't know. So he's not dead. If it's the same guy, right?
You can't have him just disappear.
Well, I really don't know, but it just anyway. But the point is this: think about all the things that they have pretty much stopped research on, right? And then think about also about the recent revelations we have come across, where the government has admitted, yes, well, this is a real thing, and yes, this is also a real thing, and yes, UAPs, UFOs, etc., etc. These are all real things, and if these are real things, right, then are the phenomena related to those also real, like Bigfoot, like interdimensional travel, like really strange cryptids, like others, cattle mutilation? Because the thing is, they might not all be real, right? But then again, maybe they are, because we have already opened the can of worms and said, yeah, hey, no, it's a thing. UAPs and UFOs. It's absolutely that it's happening. We don't know. No, we don't know what it is. Now, looking at it from that angle, there's a lot of tech, a lot of science that we actively did not pursue, Dave.
That's right.
Your favorite, of course, anti-gravity.
Oh, I know.
And I found a Chinese scientist, American Chinese, I should say, and she's famous for her anti-gravity research. In fact, it was controversial, apparently. But again, I hadn't really heard about her. I go, where did she come from? What? And then there's now an article where apparently physicists in 2020 discovered anti-gravity in a bizarre buoyancy experiment, which vibrating liquids can result in bizarre surfaces with anti-gravity-like features. And you go, right? I don't know. It just, what else don't we know? What else has been researched that we are not privy to? What not? Right? Well, all of it. Yeah. Well, fair enough. Yes, that's
got
true
you
enough.
there. No, that's so true. So, what has been researched that we don't know? All of it.
And it was Dr. Ning Li, by the way, from Huntsville,
Wow.
a trailblazer in the field of anti-gravity research, and she passed away 2 years ago. Just to put it out there. So, yeah, look, I don't know. What do you make of all this?
What do I make of it?
Yeah.
Totally a thing. I believe, Mackie, that it's all to keep this tech under wraps. People disappear, sure. They disappear for many reasons. And one might be that they've hit upon something and now they're an employee of the government directly, where they might have been in a small private firm or what have you. Now they're kind of vacuumed up to continue research somewhere in some lab. I don't really care. But something came up, Mackie, in my realm this week, which is along the same veins. And if we all remember MH370.
Yes. Oh, what's this? Did you get a ping on Facebook?
Yeah.
Did someone send something to you? Yeah, I got the same video.
Yeah. So the video itself has a point in which it's describing the satellite communication ping.
Yes.
And the 3 locations in which it pinged and logged back on again, the center point of that ping is the British Indian Ocean Territory. It's the same place, the same 3 pings.
Yes.
It's the same center of the circle. Where do you find things? At the center of the circle. That's where you find things. So I'm going to put it out there yet again that they said that the engines kept going for 6 hours. Well, so, right? You wanted to throw the scent off, I suppose, right? They said the last real known trajectory was to go towards the Middle East. But, India, blah, 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 it could have flown. Mickey and I have done that, the string on the globe. For the 6,400 kilometers instead of 4,600 kilometers that the fuel was for. Anyway, I wanted to put that out because once again, they keep saying the Southern Ocean. Nothing was ever found. Many different, even privateers in the end tried to recover something. And one of the really interesting parts was they say that they'd only confirmed one flaperon, and all of the other pieces that look like they're from other parts of the same plane, none of the others were ever confirmed to be from 370. So the only single part which would not be a failure, you could have taken off the plane because it was undamaged. It didn't have any, like its pivot point, or its, we call it a moment. So the moment arm, or the moment itself, because it's a moment arm, around which it rotates, was not damaged. It didn't tear off the aircraft. It looks like it was dismantled and then thrown into the ocean for the ocean currents to grow barnacles on it. That's it. But every single part of an aircraft has a stamp to suggest that it's part of that aircraft. So if you find it, you go, oh, that's part of that aircraft. But the French authorities never even claimed that the flaperon was part of it. They flatly denied it. They go, well, there's no proof. Well, you just look at the stamp. Does the stamp say it is? And they go, inconclusive, which is a no. It's not a yes. So everything other than yes is a no.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really got me yet again. There's talk all around the place, but the first turn to the right looks like it was attempting to avoid something. Or there was a struggle, I don't really care. But all the rest of the path was what looks like it was trying to hide from radar. But then there was 3 military radars that picked it up anyway, because they don't use transponders, they just track the blips. And and it wasn't until so I've gone too deep. All I'm saying is it appears as though the only concrete evidence they've got anywhere is, without hearsay, is those log-ons, because that triangulated the aircraft and that pinpoints them exactly in the British Indian Ocean Territory, which was one of those theories that started initially and then kind of petered out. And they even confirmed all those lithium-ion batteries that they had on board. The 3 pallets of them, which is really unusual. This was part of this video. But
yes,
what they didn't say were all the patent holders and where were they going? They were going to China. And then the theory came up, Becky, not in this video, but at the time, that not only the payload, but the patent owners, and then looked at what patents they had, and they had a cloaking technology. So would you want the cloaking technology to be sold to another country? No. That's what I'm going to go with, no. And so was the whole dog and pony show that we saw and all the effort to try and find it, was it just there to appease the people so it looked like you did something? Even though you did stop it from getting into the hands of another country that could use it? Did it, in fact? Maybe it ran into or was taken by a UFO. That's the thing that I'll keep on the table till that says no. Now that UFOs are real, well, maybe it did. Maybe there's a base down in the Southern Ocean. Maybe it went there. Maybe. So, look, I just want to put it out there. So, yes, there's a message that they're telling us through the media. When you kind of dive into it, most, Becky, of all the conspiracy theories are true. They become true. You're isolated, ridiculed. That can't be possible. The group that believes it is thrown a bunch of shill information, so they divide themselves into who believes which of this new thing, and then you're chopped into such small parts that you couldn't possibly ever have a large enough voice to do anything. That's the goal. That's the goal of the secret agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And so, wow, if you think around how that operates and what the goal is to silence the truth, actually, then when you start to get silenced and when you start to see this ridiculous misinformation come from, what looks like reliable underground sources, really got to question it. Question it as much as you can, because it's probably a lie.
And I repeat this, I know, but if it's out in the public arena,
mm-hmm.
and I'm talking about, the media, the official media, it's because somebody wants you to know this.
So remember the CIA's Project Mockingbird, Mackie?
Mm-hmm.
That was a misinformation plot that's been foiled. We know it was real.
Yeah, but it's brilliant, because the thing is this, right? If you seed some doubt,
mm-hmm.
right, that your job is done. You could have 95% of whatever, something, to be true, and then you put 5% of misinformation and red herring and doubt into it.
Yeah.
The whole thing, because this is the thing, right? These days, still to this day, even after everything that's happened, the word conspiracy, but even more so the word conspiracy theory and the term conspiracy theorist have a massively negative connotation of tinfoil hat wearing nut jobs like Dave and myself.
Thank you.
Right?
I was waiting for the compliment.
I know, but it's deliberate. This is because the thing is this: if you are a critical thinker and you're skeptical, and you don't believe the official narrative, you are a conspiracy theorist. But if you're a debunker that tries to debunk the conspiracy, whatever theory it might be, doesn't really matter. That means automatically you are the critical thinker. You're the skeptic that is, the good person. It's really funny. So the person that is the actual skeptic, the critical thinker, thinks, well, I don't think my government is telling me the truth, or whatever, whoever is telling you something, right? Now, you're now the conspiracy theorist. You're crazy. Along comes somebody who goes along with the official storyline, tries to debunk you, and that person has become the skeptic and critical thinker that everybody thinks, oh yeah, that guy he's on the money. He's a smart guy. He doesn't believe any of the conspiracy craziness.
Everybody knows that, Mackie.
Everybody, Dave. Everybody knows that, don't we? It's really quite. If you think about it just for a second, and you run some water through this, right?
Yeah.
You go, oh, hang on, and then all of a sudden you go, okay, well, for decades, anybody who said anything about UFOs was crazy, and people wouldn't say anything about UFOs because they didn't want to lose their jobs, didn't want to be crazy, so they didn't come forward, right? But some people did, and they were, can we believe it? It's all crazy. And the thing is, the poster is this. Remember the X-Files? I want to believe.
That's right.
That's even that is such a trope.
Yeah.
I tell you what I mean. I want to believe. You don't have to believe. And saying that you want to believe means that, well, I can't. I wanna, and it really needs belief. None of this needs belief. This is not religion. We're following the science. We're following the facts. And for the first time, and I'll be honest with you, for the first time, that's why I keep talking about it. The hunt for Skinwalker and now the Skinwalker Ranch documentary. For the first time, there's a fairly serious assortment of serious mainstream scientists, right, brought to the ranch, and they follow the data. What scientists meant to do. That's what they meant to do. Graham Hancock, right? He's a journalist. He's investigating an ancient apocalypse. Okay? If you had the chance to watch his documentary or read his books, do so. You might find it enlightening. But he follows data, right? He follows the data wherever it goes. And he shows the physical. He actually goes there. He's not an armchair kind of guy. He goes there. He shows you, right? These. I mean, how do you explain some of the physical things that he shows you? Well, you can't unless he at least is partially right about what he says, right? You have to follow the data. But scientists frequently, and not just scientists, but governments, organizations, corporations, they ignore the data. They ignore the evidence because it's not convenient. And they call us crazy conspiracy theories because the groundwork has been laid. I remember, and you remember this, Dave. I know you do. September 12th.
That's
no,
right.
No, sorry. I lied to you. It was still September 11th. I lied. It was still September 11th because I stayed up all night, right? September 11th, and I remember a few hours only. This was a few hours after the attacks, right? After all the attacks had occurred. George Bush Jr. stood there in front of an audience, and we will not tolerate any, I think he said crazy
conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories regarding, I mean, the seed was planted at that point. And if you look at the official story for that day,
I mean, the building was still burning
too.
At this point.
The list of failures that would have had to occur for all the things to have happened as they did, including all the coincidences like shorting of the market, shorting of stock, like having almost the entire Air Force withdrawn.
That's right. What a black swan, huh?
Yeah. Then planes being allowed to change course without being challenged, going into one of the most, or some of the most
secure
airspaces in the world.
Yeah.
Most secure. In fact, they're restricted. Washington is restricted airspace, right?
Yeah.
So all of these things, all of it. And then the fact that people made money of it, massive amounts of money, and the fact that Silverstein wanted to knock down the Trade Center because he had to, because there was asbestos in the building.
That's right.
That would have bankrupted him, right?
Yeah.
And then the fact that he insured the buildings a couple months before the attack.
For what did he insure them for, Mackie?
So destruction, but it would pay double.
It was terrorist attack.
If it was a terrorist attack.
That's right.
Now, again, I have secondhand insight from a person that knows a person that worked on a boat that belonged to Silverstein in New York. And that person was a server on that boat, right? Serving like whatever drinks. I can't remember, whatever. But they weren't part of the thing, right? They were just working there. And those people that were on the boat, the Silversteins and his buddies, he was part of the furniture as far as they were concerned. So they talked, and they were quite happy after the fact that they were congratulating each other on how well it had all come off, on how they're all going to make a killing on all of this, figuratively and metaphorically, as well as in reality. So literally, right? So it is all of these things in combination that make the official story, not just for 9/11, but for the JFK assassination, the fairy tale, the conspiracy theory, the Port Arthur shootings, the official story. That's the crazy conspiracy theory, I tell you. Okay. None of it makes sense. And the thing is this, very few people want to dig into these things. It's just too hard. And I get it. I dig it. But sometimes you have to. And the truth is that a lot of the official explanation for a lot of things that went on simply doesn't hold water. It just doesn't. No. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, but it sure is. So with I saw a video today, Mackie, and it was AMTV, Christopher Green. I remember when he decided to make his own studio, which is since sold. He made endless amounts of money in crypto, and now he's doing the Island Project. I'm not advocating anything he does, just saying that's where he's at. It's a status thing. And he had to get relocated because he was in Maui, and there's still no power or water there, and that the people in the town, which he knew almost everybody, they're all either deceased, their livelihoods are lost because of the let's say the supporting industry, the food, social, local stores and everything. That's all gone. It's all gone. It's gone. And he's concerned for the livelihoods, and he's got a thing going to raise some money, which is pretty good. I do applaud him for that. But he was talking about today exactly the same words that we said on Sunday.
Okay.
About the possibility of there being directed energy weapons.
Really?
Yeah, 100% he was saying that because he was a witness to it all.
Well,
He
I
said
mean, if
he's
you look
never
at
seen
it,
anything burn so fast.
yeah, and so specifically, like we said on Sunday,
Yeah.
if you look at the footage, and we can only, we don't have our own footage, so we just take
No,
secondhand
we have
footage.
to use that one, yeah.
Yeah, so there are strips which are burnt to ash. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's houses, like probably 4, 5, 6, whatever houses in a row on the street, completely burnt to ash. Cars burnt out and molten tires and all that, right? And then 2 meters behind is a fence, and another meter behind that is like a shopping mall or a fairly big building.
Yep.
Not even soot.
No, that's right. Yep.
Nothing.
That's right. It's just like you had a large laser in space, and you were shooting the ground with it and just burning everything. So that's really interesting. And there's a secondary component which I did kind of touch on Sunday, but gamma ray bursts from our own sun, believe it or not, and they've recently detected that the sun does, while it doesn't get enough temperature to create gamma ray bursts, it does make X-rays frequently, but sometimes only in the corona, when the conditions are just right, it'll be enough heat to make, because it's all about heat. It's about how many Kelvin. So it's all about the amount of energy, and if the amount of energy is just right, you can actually create gamma ray bursts. Now the moon reflects a whole bunch of gamma ray bursts at us as well, as a secondary mirror. So we can get gamma ray bursts from one side of the planet, the moon's on the other side, reflects it back to the dark side of the gamma ray burst Earth. So it's very interesting, and this study or paper that was released just recently shows these gamma ray cameras which are around the world in tubs of water, and they're looking for it's like a cascade of energy within a tank of water, like I've got at my house, a water tank, and it looks for spots of light as it starts to decay in the darkness, and it actually sees them, and every time it does, it knows where it's pointing, and it has such a large enough array in which it can detect like a CCD does. If you don't know what a CCD is, the chip that has light sensors on it that you'll find in digital cameras. So the CCD that they've made is a large array in water tanks, all butted up against each other with these detectors in the bottom, and they're actually detecting that the moon reflects gamma rays, the sun creates them from time to time, and the rest of the universe is just awash. And normally we are protected by it, but the gamma ray bursts and ozone, it actually breaks the ozone apart, depleting our ozone layer. Mm-hmm. So that's something else. I wanted to bring that out because I'm following that line of investigation as far as why we have these sudden heating events, which have the likes that we've never seen before on Earth in a sealed system. What's breaking the seal or reducing our protection? Yeah, we have a depleting magnetic field because it looks like we might be going into a pole reversal, but it's traveling or drifting so fast now, it's just absolutely nuts. So look, all these things that are contributing factors, but one of the things that I was most concerned about was the source of the gamma ray burst, and it's actually something really super close to us. So how much? It's pretty weak in comparison, probably 1,000 times less energetic than maybe a pulsar or something like that, or a supernova, but still it's there and it's super close, which means it has a lot of effect on us. And so wow, that was kind of news, Mickey. That kind of rocked me today to hear that. And if you don't know what the significance is, if we didn't have an ozone layer, you couldn't go outside.
No.
That's the end of going outside. All the plants die. There's too much UV. Nothing can grow. and we have to live underground.
Yeah. Because we are not
people.
in the Goldilocks zone.
No, we're too close, actually.
Okay, yeah. So people always say that. We're not. We're many things, but we're not that. Okay, so
we can only be here. It's like being outside in the rain. Yeah, you can do that. But if you had an umbrella, it'd be better, right? You don't get as wet with an umbrella. So that the only way that you can be outside and be dry is with that shield. And that's the only way we can be in this place in what we used to think was the Goldilocks zone. But we're kind of a little too close. And that's the only thing keeping our planet habitable. And I thought that was extraordinary. Now, back to you in the studio.
Oh, look, it is astounding. But then you have to look at the ramifications of what you just said. What is in the final analysis? What does it mean then? What does it mean? What if it is true? If it, what would it mean?
Oh, it would mean that we'd be living underground.
Well, there's that.
Well, because we'd have to find a real easy way of recreating our ozone, or another way of shielding the planet from gamma ray bursts.
So here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that gamma ray bursts and ozone depletion have happened in the past.
Yes.
And I think it's a cyclical thing. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly gamma ray bursts, 100%, they would have happened in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it brings me back to things we've been saying for many years now, that the true civilization or civilizations that are on this planet are actually underground, not on the surface. We are but the poor cousins, if that.
You could be deep under the ocean.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Because it's a lot safer. It's a lot safer to live underground. If you can solve the
crushing pressure thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's
without sunlight.
One of the key things is to artificially create sunlight and be able to grow plants, etc., etc. I mean, but again, these are things that we are now solving for space missions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's solvable.
You can buy plant-friendly frequency LEDs now.
Yeah, and even more so, let's imagine a civilization that has portal technology.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Now, again, if you're part of that civilization, I will also postulate that you have access to quantum foam energy or zero-point energy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you want to call it, which in and of itself is clean and infinitely abundant, meaning we'll never run out of it and it'll never cost us anything, except, of course, the initial setup costs of actually plugging into it. But after that, it's free energy. Now, if you live in a free energy society, your technical advances will be enormous because energy all of a sudden is no longer an issue. It's no longer a problem.
That's right.
Portal technology. Well, we need to open a wormhole. Oh, that's a lot of energy. Yeah, no problem. Here's all the energy you ever need. That is. Use it. Now, I read a really cool story, and I think I spoke about this before, where this our civilization, had discovered portal technology, and your house consisted of rooms like it does today, except each room was in a different physical location. So,
nice.
Yeah, I know, right? So your dining room might be looking out over the Gobi Desert, right? And your bedroom might be somewhere in the Swiss Alps, and maybe your bathroom just lets out to a nice beach in the South Pacific or whatever, right? But if you have unlimited energy and portal technology, which it seems as though that's exactly what they have. They have portal technology. They seem to have unlimited energy. In fact, we have no idea what kind of propulsion systems they're using.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly gravity is no thing for them either. So all of these things I've just said seem to be a reality. Not for us, not for you and me, but they're a real thing for somebody else, for the people that have this capability. Now, think just for a second, think about all the stuff that's happening in the world, all the bad things, all the inequities, all the suffering, all the disease, all the hunger, all the wars. It all boils down to just a few things. Chief among them, of course, greed. If you lived in a post-scarcity society, which these guys seem to, it all goes away. And with portal technology, there's not even an issue with living space anymore. Because you just find new living space. Maybe they have interdimensional travel, which, again, some things seem to point to that. We are captive in an insane cycle of self-destruction on the surface. That's what we are.
Yeah.
We are...
We're fighting over nothing, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. Hey, Mackie, did you see the video I sent you? It looked like an astronaut being interviewed by someone who was talking about quantum entanglement of photons or electrons.
Yeah, I did see that.
And he said you can communicate anywhere in the world, anywhere in the universe, non-local.
Anywhere in the universe.
And that's what I came up with that on my own, and I mentioned it in one of my shows, I don't know, 10 years ago or whatever. And it's interesting now to see other people talking about it. Because you could do it.
But it see, again, this is going to sound terribly conceited, but you and I seem to come up with a number of concepts. Not that we, can ever claim anything.
No, I can't claim it all.
But we do. And then 10, 15, 20 years later sometimes, because I'm still upset about bubbles in quantum form, I'll tell you what. But, that's neither here nor there. And it makes its way into the general psyche, because this is the thing, right? When I was young, and probably in my 8, 9 years old, I was wondering where the original thoughts came from.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, look around your room or wherever you are right now. Look around you, right? There was a point in time when whatever you're looking at right now did not exist, even as a concept. It did not exist. But somebody thought it up. Somebody had an idea, an original idea. Now, where do these come from? I mean, who are these people that originated these ideas? And then turns out, oh, okay, well, not too fine a point on it, but I seem to be a person that seems to have original ideas. Dave seems to be a person that has original ideas. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. And I'm always wondering, okay, so because once a concept is introduced, okay, into the general psyche of the human race, let's call it, right? The collective unconscious, the Akashic record, whatever you're going to call it, I don't care. Then it sits there. And all of a sudden, everybody has access to it. And it might spark something in someone. And they might do something with it, right? They might not be the person that originally thought it up, right, as a concept. But now it can be done. You know why I say this? Because whenever we have fairly significant inventions or scientific breakthroughs, it seems that more than one group is working on it at the same time. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. You know, television was co-invented across the planet. Yeah. And
that's odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it was co-invented across the planet. Two different creators. One did it in black and white, and they had all the budget, and the one who did it in color didn't. So it's proven now. It's a thing. You can look it up. That the person who invented it in color had no budget, was told it was never going to get off the ground, and that was where that ended.
Well, nobody will ever use a computer. That's just insane. We'll just need 3 computers in the world, Dave.
Well, it's kind of getting that way again.
Yeah, I know, but same with television. Television, that'll never take off. In the era of silent movies, talkies. The movies were called talkies back then, right?
Yeah.
That's just not going to take off now. That's just a fad. People don't want talking pictures. Yeah. You see, not only is there resistance to new ideas, right? There's active countermanding measures that are being taken to bring it down, right? It is so it's not just a passive resistance, right? Sorry, I should have said that. It's active resistance. rather than passive, and it's really quite interesting if you think about it. We are incredibly change averse as a race, but once the thought is there, once the idea gets in there, it stays. It sort of festers. And then, it's almost like our subconscious is spitballing it, amongst ourselves. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I'm looking at what's happening, and just one thing. Donald Trump now has like 3 or 4 cases against him running, right?
Mm-hmm.
And something I only learned today, right? Now he can pardon himself of all the federal cases if you were elected president, right? He could. All federal cases he could just make go away. What he can't make go away are state brought cases. Do you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, all the cases brought, and that's why I think there's now 3 cases that were brought in state judiciaries against him. He can't pardon himself from those. Only federal cases. But I tell you, again, it comes down to he's got a Secret Service. If he's found guilty and imprisoned, they gotta. Essentially, the Secret Service has to go there with him.
That's right.
They have to, unless there's some kind of some kind of convoluted handover procedure where the custodial agencies take on responsibility of protecting him, which. And then imagine something happens to him. Oh my Lord! I mean, I mean, this has never happened. I can't even imagine what would happen. To be honest, I mean, this is just unprecedented. The whole thing,
thing.
And you really have to wonder now. Okay, is he a nice guy? Probably not. Do I like him? Well, honestly, not really. However, all the stuff that's happening to him now in the lead up to 2024, right? You have to stop and think for a second and say, hey, really? All of these things? He's guilty of all of them? Right? I mean, but which way can we make him not run? Let's find a way. Let's just find a way. Let's throw everything at him. You got to feel for the guy, right? It's just insane. Anyway, that's what I think. It's completely insane. Where do you go from here? What do you do with him?
Yeah, I do truly wonder. Because if the idea is to keep us in servitude, to delete resistance, and to embark upon what can only be described as the Great Reset, with a single world currency, single world government, single world governance. Did you know that there was I think it's called World Coin?
Okay.
Have you seen they're trying that now in Africa?
No, I haven't seen that. Okay.
Yeah. I'll flick after the show. I'll flick you something. And there is an orb. There's an app on your phone and an orb, and if you sign up, you get $50 US.
Okay.
But you've got to scan your retina on this device and provide all your details, and so that now you're captured in the system from the world, the New World Order. I suspect to some degree, even though it's a Bitcoin thing called WorldCoin, they're paying people to join. And they trialed a whole bunch of things around the world during COVID, because that was a great opportunity to do that. Willingly sign up and do these things and have your certificates and have disposable money. You get a like a credit or a gift card kind of experience, but it expires. Go spend it somewhere. Go on, let's recover the economy.
Wow.
Social credit. Social justice. Becky, it's all kind of coming out now, isn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, eventually everything will come out, I guess. At some point. It'll be too late in most instances. But,
too late. So in the town, is it Oxford in England, where they've split it into like a pizza pie? And you can't travel outside of the zone. They're forcing people to go now in Victoria and Victoria and South Australia, or no new homes can have town gas anymore.
Huh.
Not allowed. Only electrical connection. Hang on a minute. Do you know the whole reason why we had gas in the first place? Because it was cheaper. It was a cheaper way to heat your home, cheaper way to cook. And now they're telling us that there's too much carbon you emit. Hang on a minute, but I'm not getting my power in my house from free energy. It's all base loaders coal. So aren't I just outsourcing the emissions to you instead of making a minor amount myself? Minor, I say. Because domestically, we don't produce enough as a percentage in our nation to warrant even acting on it. Not at all. Pollution, sure. Plastic, sure. Right? But not emissions. No, we don't do anything. And I'm going to stand down. I'm not going to go into percentages. I'm not going to say anything more. Except the people who, with zeal, will stare you in the face and be all righteous about, carbon, you got to do this, carbon that, electric vehicle this, and look at you polluting the atmosphere. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So how many people died to make your car? Just gonna ask. Children collect the boron and the other chemicals in mines that, well, they're not supposed to, but they still do it anyway. Yeah. Do you know what it's like on a sulfur mine? Have you ever seen one of those? Yeah, it's not good. You die of yellow lung. Not the black lung in the coal mines. Well, there's still coal mines. I suppose it doesn't matter, really, does it? So this whole thing, Mackie, this whole, the direction and the wording from the government for the consumer to fix the whole climate problem and all the emissions problems, when we're the very least on the pie chart. The very least.
I know, right?
Of all the things that pollute, the end user is the least in the pollution game. So, you've got agriculture and you've got mining, yeah, and power production, and you've got heavy industry, and that's like 98% of all the emissions. And then you've got this little sliver that kind of looks like a toothpick in a matzo ball, Mackie. And that's us. That's the consumer. It's repulsive that we have to be the ones who action it. Even if we did it, there's still 98% still burning away and creating emissions and not changing a thing on the planet. Not saying who it is, and some countries are worse than others, but even in your own country, that's what it is.
It's not, and you're right. You're 100% correct, but it's just a red herring. None of these are real issues per se, because you're right. The consumer can't do anything. You and I, even recycling is a joke, right?
Yeah.
It has to be done.
It just gets sent to somewhere that eventually burns down.
That's exactly right. So if we're serious about it, then we would have done something about it. But the thing is this, right? Still, to this day, I know we're coming to the end of the show, but greed seems to be the driving force.
1 minute.
Greed and self-interest. Because, again, let me put it this way. If you know you're going to be okay and you have a great life, and no matter what you do, you're going to be okay, what is compelling you to change your life? What? Nothing. Because you have a great life, and your children will have a great life, right? And everybody else, well, I don't care. Let them suffer. What do I care? It's their fault, right? They can make billions of dollars like me, right? Let them make billions of dollars. Go, do it. This is the mindset, and this is in fact the mindset prevailing in America. If you are at the bottom of the totem pole, that's your fault. India, if you're born into the untouchable caste, that's your fault. You can see how the parasites have found different ways of disenfranchising people and making it their fault. And there's the music. Okay,
it sure
guys.
is.
This has been Plato's Cave. Thank you so much for allowing us into your living rooms, cars, wherever you might be. This has been Plato's Cave. Like I said, don't go anywhere. I'm sure something awesome is coming up. Not sure what, but don't touch that dial or button or whatever it is. But most of all, be safe.